And this is essentially decoding how the entire liquor scam took place. This is the case against Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. Now, these are exclusive details of how the South Group got involved in tweaking the excise policy back in 2021. Now, the CBI claims that they've been finding evidence ever since they filed the charge sheet back in November 2022 as well. The South Group made an upfront payment of 100 crores allegedly to Vijay Nair using Dinesh Arora. These are details of all of the people involved. Now, this reportedly promoted cartelization and monopoly at the wholesale level with a 12% profit for wholesalers. Now, an expert committee was also set up to suggest changes in the excise policy 2021 to 2022. This expert committee did not recommend zonal licenses at the retail level, nor the privatization of the wholesale model. This was apparently not to the liking of Manish Sisodia. Mentioning of the opinion of legal experts was also against the wishes of Sisodia and the Council of Ministers. Now, the said note of the Council of Ministers was not taken up and is said to be untraceable even at this moment. Now, we're crossing over to CNN News 18's Arnima to get us more on this. Arnima, over to you.
So, the 5-day interview in and the 5 top questions that CBI wants Mr. Sisodia to answer. Number one is the money trail. Allegation that Vijay Nair, who's accused of being a very close associate of Mr. Sisodia, he via Dinesh Arora, another businessman who's now turned an approver, that Vijay Nair took an advance alleged kickback of 100 crores from the South Group. Now, the South Group is a loosely used term by both the ED and the CBI to refer to a number of liquor manufacturers and their representatives, including political leaders from TRS, from YSRCP. And the charge is that 100 crore was paid by them in advance before the excise policy was formed. The charge is that this money was then diverted by the Aam Aadmi Party for the Goa elections. CBI claims that it has evidence to prove that 70 lakh rupees out of this 100 crore was paid in cash for surveyors in Goa, and that other amount, unspecified amount was paid to advertisers for use of their hoardings, etc. So it wants Mr. Sisodia to confirm if he was aware of any such transaction. What exactly did Vijay Nair tell him? Why was this 100 crore taken? The second question they want to ask him is about how the GOM note, there was a group of ministers that was formed to finalize the excise policy, and the CBI claims it has evidence to show that just ahead of the GOM meeting at a South Delhi hotel, this South group met. They used the business center of the hotel, photocopied and printed documents which are identical to the number of pages that were used in the note that Mr. Sisodia presented to the GOM. CBI wants him to answer whether the two notes were identical. The third point they want him to answer is about one Mr. Mahendru, who's a co-accused in this case. He apparently, his company Indo Spirits, its application was objected to. Subsequently, he filed a second application, and the allegation is that Mr. Sisodia immediately asked the excise commissioner to approve his application. CBI wants him to answer how did he get to know that a second application was being filed. There are two other questions that CBI wants him to answer as to why was this 12% profit margin given to the manufacturers. Is it true that out of this 12%, 6% was to be channeled back as kickback? And the final question, where is the missing file, the file that details how the entire excise policy was formed?
Absolutely, Arnima. Thank you so much for giving us that information. But do stay with us. We're also going to bring in CNN News 18's Ashish Maharishi, who's been tracking this entire story. Ashish, what I wanted to ask you more about, would you be able to tell us about the expert committee that was set up to suggest changes in the excise policy and the struggle and the tussle between the expert committee and Manish Sisodia?
So, if you see the change in the entire or the tweaking of the excise policy was basically done at the behest of the South lobby. Now, when it comes to the expert committee, there was no mention of the changes in the excise policy or increasing the margin from 5% to 12%. There was no mention of the wholesale trade going into the hands of the private individuals. What is interesting is that in a South Delhi hotel, there were certain documents that were basically photocopied, and the entire policy. This is a very serious allegation that the entire policy was basically crafted or drafted inside a South lobby, inside a South Delhi hotel, and that photocopy was exactly the same that was presented before the Council of Ministers. So it seems to be that the policy was drafted or crafted in a private place by private individuals, and that was basically presented before the government of Delhi officials and the people occupying senior positions in the cabinet as well. So it seems to be that the entire tweaking of policy was done at the behest of the South lobby, and that increase of commission from 5% to 12% was done at their behest. Now, was the money that even Arunima was talking about, that 6%, which is being alleged as kickbacks, which there was an upfront payment of around 100 crore rupees to the Aam Aadmi Party netas. This serious allegation is being probed. Even if you see what the judge yesterday in his order has very clearly defined is that there are certain testimonies by people who were basically occupied and senior positions in the Delhi government who were looking at the excise policy. They have come up with certain statements. So, excuse me. So Manish Sisodia needs to be basically confronted with those statements. There are certain evidence that are in the hand of CBI. He needs to be confronted with those evidence, and that is why the 5-day custody, as demanded by CBI, has been granted to them.
All right, Ashish, do stay with us. We're getting some more breaking news.